Welcome back to the L1 show, Links with Friends. Today is Friday, September 29th. We are on the cusp of spooky season. Prepare yourself. There may be a skeleton inside you right now. We're doing AI nonsense stories.
Confirm there is a skeleton inside me, and then one just wants to take a nap.
You're going to say he just wants to die, but
Which is weird because skeletons don't benefit from naps.
they don't.
And you probably aren't going to benefit from the iterative increase of all these various AI stuff, but they're going to keep giving them to you.
OpenAI debuts its next version of its image generation tool.
The big feature here is integration with ChatGPT. So now you can have ChatGPT pull in the image generator and you can talk to it and make it revise your images and stuff like that.
You're not even going to be the prompt generator. Like, you're just...
I-
Are you even necessary at that point?
Again, I don't understand how some company like IKEA is not rolling out a website that says, take a picture of your space, and then they have a large language model image generator that just takes your picture and then starts stuffing IKEA products in the image.
I think that there is something like that. I think I saw an article about it.
That'll be nice.
I'll have
Sure
to
they're
look it
working
up
on it.
again.
They will sell just so much stuff if they do that.
I might have hallucinated that, like the monocle on the Monopoly guy too, though.
And like ChatGPT constantly hallucinates things. And those hallucinations are getting into our public memory, and they're usurping some things that maybe some people don't want us to know about, which makes them very suspicious.
First Google search result for Tiananmen Square Tank Man, oh, we just got flagged, is an AI-generated selfie.
It wasn't in the first 30 seconds. We might be all right.
This made me think of, what was it, the Lord of the Rings quote? Like, some things that should not have been lost were forgotten.
Yeah.
They've apologized for this, and they said, oh, that's just a mistake, and everything's good.
If it's making mistakes about major historical events, what other mistakes will it make?
But that's not even the AI making the mistake. That's Google's
Yeah.
search algorithm making the mistake. But they do have a new one, being Google, and they're hyped to tell you about it.
Google nears release of its AI software, Gemini, the information reports. So Gemini, that's it's going to be your AI twin. You teach it what you like and what you don't like, and it helps you find stuff.
And it also advertises to you.
Can I teach it not to ever advertise to me? I need to blank out all the advertisements.
That would be anathema to the Google AI's prime directive.
I have a feeling that Gemini is just going to be constantly whispering in my ear, have you had a Mountain Dew today?
It's in your ear too.
Drink verification can.
It's always trying to like very, stealthily fill in the holes in your advertising profile. And it's like, we haven't talked about your thoughts on the Toyota Camry before. Can you just give me a couple sentences on that?
Now, everybody watching this program is going to be getting Camry and Sequoia ads because it's listening. It knows. Like me just saying Sequoia over and over again out loud and your phone listening in, even though you're not watching this on your phone hearing the audio. And me say Toyota Sequoia, you're going to get the ads. You watch and see.
At this point, we should be being paid for it. And it's not just listening to what you say, it's also reading everything and learning. And some people insist that it must not learn what they have created.
John Grisham and other top U.S. authors sue OpenAI over copyrights. Why? Because you can ask them about their book and it'll answer questions about it.
One of the other ones was George R.R. Martin. Do you think it's fair to put John Grisham in? Does he get headline space over George R.R. Martin?
Almost every alternative version of this I saw had George R.R. Martin first.
Reuters loves John Grisham.
I guess.
I don't think this is going to work out for him, though.
That's a weird argument. I mean,
Yeah.
we're getting to the point where it's like, no, I created this and it must not be witnessed unless I'm paid.
Again, this kind of thing, the hand of Disney is behind all of this. If you can get everybody just whipped up to a nice froth, it only benefits the Disney Corporation.
Well, it's frothy because and again, most sane people won't answer polls. So polls are useless. But we're still going to look at them because it's fun to talk about. And according to these people who were dumb enough to answer a poll, they're terrified.
Most U.S. adults don't believe the benefits of AI outweigh the risks, a new survey
The
finds.
thing that blew my mind about this is that most people were like, no, AI won't take my job. That was the lowest risk, according to this poll. Which I was like, that would be the one thing I would be worried about.
I mean, I can understand that belief, that argument, because if they've used AI, they know it's terrible. But at the same time, these companies don't seem to care.
Right, exactly. Like, no one values you or your output. And that's sad, but that's the reality. But people seem to think that companies care about them still.
And what a great transition, because here's a perfect example of something that will take jobs for sure.
Waymo begins testing the waters for a robo-taxi service in Los Angeles.
Now we've seen the cruise debacles that are happening out there in California. Waymo is going to be a little bit more careful. They're doing a tour. So they're going to show up somewhere and they expect crowds to come and look at the robots, and then they'll give you a little ride. But you're not going to be able to like summon it to actually take you anywhere.
And apparently it sticks to very strict regions in Los Angeles as well.
Maybe they can do better. Probably not. And actual robots, like we were promised from sci-fi all along, we don't have a ton of them. And we got the factory robots, that's not. But we want a bipedal, general purpose robot. And this might be the closest thing we've gotten since Spot.
Agility Robotics is opening a humanoid robot factory, beating Tesla to the punch. I saw at the Intel Innovation thing, I saw some manufacturing robots where you could use like a line of Python code, and it was bananas how sophisticated it was.
Now, they did find that fingers were too difficult, so this fella's going to have flippers.
I did love the CEO of this company. He like spent a whole paragraph just dunking on how terrible hands are for robots. He's like, I see someone suggest hands in a meeting, and I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Which means they tried hands.
Yeah, it was too hard.
Well, this guy can carry boxes, do stuff like that. So he'll be helpful. I'm sure he could also kill a man with those flippers easily. And once again, we have to praise Elon Musk. I hate to do it, but this is impressive. This is number 17.
SpaceX rocket launches Starlink satellites on its record-breaking 17th flight. So this thing's been reused 17 times. That's just madness. And also, we got more Starlink satellites, so more bandwidth. Bandwidth line go up.
Ad Astra per asshole. Oh, come on. Law.com. What was this about?
I don't remember.
Oh, right. Can you read that? SpaceX got into a little bit of trouble because of their hiring practices, and now they're going to fight back.
SpaceX is suing the government to derail its case, alleging that it's hiring against refugees seeking asylum.
So the government thinks that if SpaceX doesn't hire illegals, then they should be sued.
That seems
a weird argument.
Because don't you get in trouble for having undocumented workers? I thought that was a thing.
Not anymore. Have you read any of the headlines? That's the best thing ever. So he's saying that's ridiculous, and there's going to be a big court battle. See how that goes.
In terms of being unethical, wouldn't you want to hire more people who are here on tentative visas or stuff like that? Because then you can abuse them easily. I mean, not saying that you should or that that's a good thing, but that's usually how it goes. Like, think about Twitter with the H-1B visas or whatever. They're people who've had to stay because they needed the visa.
Yeah, I don't know what his reasoning is for not doing it. But I don't even know if that's a policy. It's just that he hasn't done it, and they're angry about it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We also have some space drugs, but they're not the kind of space drugs that you would hope they would be. They are actually, like, I think it's anti-HIV drugs. For some reason, it might work better in a vacuum and zero gravity. But we'll never know, possibly, because the FAA has said, I don't think so.
Space Drugs Factory denied re-entry to Earth. The Air Force and the FAA denied permission to Varda's space capsule for return to land to Earth. We covered this when it launched. I'm surprised this wasn't worked out ahead of launch.
Varda is the queen of stars.
Or maybe was it launch or was it planning? Because we covered this before.
No, it went up on a SpaceX.
Okay.
So we talked about it. We talked about them growing the crystals in space, which was successful. But now, I think the problem here is that this device is very simple. So the FAA is kind of like, when SpaceX does that, they come back down with rockets that like land themselves and are fully functional. Yours is just kind of like a space rock.
It could land in Times Square for all we know.
We're not sure how much control you have of this. But they say they're going to keep working with them, and they're confident. You know who else is confident? Is Maduro, the Venezuelan leader, And he is going to join the long list of people who are deciding to go to the moon.
Maduro says that Venezuela will send astronauts to the moon in a Chinese spaceship. Pretty sure SpaceX could get them there too.
Is it
But-
as exciting if you're using someone else's spaceship?
Not only are you using someone else's spaceship, you're using someone else's space training centers. The Venezuelan astronauts will be sent to China to train and learn.
India didn't work this hard for them to disrespect them this way.
We can go from Venezuelan beaver cheese to Venezuelan moon cheese.
And Krista, you're a bit of a stargazer from time to time.
Yeah.
How bad is the light pollution in your rural home?
Not bad. There's a couple spots where, like, over on the horizon, you can see where the town is, but, like, you can see the stars really well for the most part in our house.
Well, now you know what to call that part of town.
The loss of dark skies is so painful, astronomers coined a new term for it.
Noctalgia, which translates into sky grief.
It is sad. It's also not good for migrating birds or bugs or anything like that if you have too many bright lights around your house.
Also makes it harder to see unidentified aerial phenomena.
I think there's a website called like darkskies.org. That might be wrong. I can't remember. Something dark skies.
Can't
And then
see-
it'll tell you how to like improve that around your property.
Can't see the non-human intelligence just blinking away up there, hoping somebody will respond by blinking back.
They're too busy looking at advertisements in the sky.
I don't know. I mean, I probably will be the last generation to know any darkness in the sky, right? Because once the satellite game is going to get easier and easier.
It's going to be just like in Wall-E.
It is. I will say, so like on the little local town Facebook group where I live, people will often post pictures of like Starlink satellites coming down. Like, what is that? So you can't actually see them where we live. And I'm sure eventually it may reach a point where you can't even see that happening.
Well, they're only going to get smaller and they're only going to get more efficient. So we're going to get more and more of them up there. And this will have a big thing or a big part to do with that, I think, because propellant, when you put a satellite up there, you have to have a lifetime supply of propellant. When it's out, you can't move around anymore. And CubeSat has figured out an ingenious way around that.
CubeSat rocket thruster is so small it has to be made like microchips. Look at that. There it is.
It's so cute.
It turns water and electricity, hydrolysis, into oxygen and hydrogen. So it puts the it unburns the water so it can be burned again.
And on that little tiny engine, you can burn a lot with just a little bit of water. You also don't have to compress the water to launch it like you would if you stored the hydrogen and the oxygen separately. So it's a huge win.
All you need is electricity.
And the sun will give you that.
We've
Non-
reached the nonsense portion of the program.
The non-human intelligence is just like, oh, finally they figured it out. They can get water and or can get oxygen and hydrogen directly from water. Morons. Gotta have compressed cylinders on there. What's wrong with them?
Now, when do we know that you have a special kind of phobia for public restrooms? This has got to feel like a Twilight Zone.
A
episode
nightmare.
of you.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Would you, now you are very connected to your phone.
Yeah.
Would you go in?
No. It's gone. It's gone forever. I try to remote wipe it. Michigan woman pulled from
Remote wipe.
Michigan woman pulled from outhouse toilet after climbing in for an Apple Watch.
Oh,
She fell in.
that's kind of scary too, because like the gases.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine there's probably some sort of.
There's
People
like a
have
chemical toilet. Too.
people have literally died chasing things. This is, just somebody chasing an Apple Watch.
Ugh. Do you
She's okay. I
do
got
you,
it.
do you think you'd ever have like a moment like would you remember that smell forever? Like sometimes you're laying down in bed and you just get like a,
Yeah,
a phantom smell.
I've been to a pig farm. That smell has psychologically scarred me.
Yeah.
Well, you might also get scarred if you're enjoying some nice processed cheese this week. And you got to watch out and make sure that you get every little strip of plastic because they're hiding extra plastic this time around.
Kraft is recalling some American cheese slices over a potential choking hazard. When you take it out of its plastic packaging, there's an extra sheet of plastic on the cheese that if you eat, you don't actually bite into. You're going to end up having a wadded up piece of plastic in your mouth and you might get choked on that.
How hilarious is it that Kraft singles are already so similar to plastic that you could easily overlook that?
Yeah. Or I guess if if you made a grilled cheese and it just sort of melts down, maybe you would notice.
I object to that being called cheese.
And this is just more terrible behavior from our fellow Americans. You don't want to see it, but it's here, and I think we need to be aware of it.
2 women arrested for drunkenly tossing baby around like a toy at Daytona Beach bar, police say. Fortunately, this was recorded on a whole bunch of different people's cell phones and other camera stuff, and the kid probably broke its arm or fractured its arm from this and is bruised. And I think these women weren't the parents, but one of them was babysitting. But then the parents showed up, and I don't know, it's a mess. It seems like just a mess.
They were babysitting and they're like, let's take the kid to the bar.
Yeah.
And then just yeet them around on the balcony.
The actual parents might have wanted to vet their babysitter.
Yeah.
A bit more.
Yeah. This is really bad. But I'm glad that there was, video evidence that they couldn't downplay what was happening. Like, oh, that's not what happened at all. People are just, it's like, well.
Yeah, initially I was thinking like, oh, were they just doing the game where you throw the baby and catch
Yeah.
him a little bit? But
Yeah, I definitely experienced that as a kid and lost like the trampoline and felt like going 20 feet in the air.
They described once people started filming, that really riled them up. And they started like attacking the people who were filming, but they were attacking while holding the child by one leg.
Yeah.
Some really bad behavior.
yeah.
And in the science world, we continue to play God and do things that might have terrible consequences. But hey, this guy's kind of adorable, right? Maybe we get him back.
RNA has been recovered from an extinct species for the first time.
Now, you might be thinking, well, we've already done that, right? What about all that stuff they're pulling out of the Antarctic ice? This guy wasn't frozen. He's been in a museum in room temperature.
Tasmanian tiger.
Let me stay dead.
And we've actually talked about this one before. You guys remember it?
Yes. It won an award.
We had some good jokes about it, but the big thing was the way that it recognizes you, and some people have recognized how stupid that is.
The smart toilet that looks at your butt when you're going to the bathroom to figure out who you are, who the user is, wins the Ig Nobel Prize.
It gives a little bit more detail. I don't know if we learned about it the first time around, but this is not an actual toilet. This is like a kit that you install to your existing toilet.
Yeah.
And it's literally a Raspberry Pi with a camera lens that you put down in there. And it recognizes. They point out that the butt print is actually as unique as a fingerprint. I wonder how much research has actually been done on that.
Probably not enough. And that's probably best.
Ooh.
Someone needs to get to the bottom of that.
Hit that subscribe button.
And some people that I don't think will be involved in that research or any scientific endeavors are these Baltimore students.
13 Baltimore City high schools, 0 students tested proficient on the 2023 state math exam. That's very depressing.
There's 4, right? Novice, apprentice, proficient, and distinguished was when I was a kid. I don't know if it's the same now, but
So nobody got past 1 in all these schools. And this is actually not the first time this has happened. Back in 2021 or 2022, this same story was almost a repeat. And it was a lot of the same schools. And they were given a ton of money after that first iteration, but they've accomplished nothing with it.
That's sad. It's very sad.
it's almost like just throwing money at the problem doesn't help.
There has been some pretty copious book writing about the corruption in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting stuff. And we got a mushroom block. So many mushroom stories this week. I'll admit I dug up a couple of extra just so we could have a mushroom block. But one of the big ones is that people want to use the magic ones, and maybe they're going to be allowed.
Bill aims to stop federal intervention in states allowing use of magic mushrooms. It turns out that there are some states that have therapies, psychological and otherwise, that use extracurricular pharmaceuticals. I don't know how to...
We've already said
Psilocybin.
Yeah.
magic mushrooms, I think. So
Now, you might have heard that and you were like, what states? Which states? I want to know for research purposes.
Oregon launches its legal psilocybin
Psilocybin.
a word you
access
read but never say out loud.
amid high demand and hopes for improved mental health care. Because they've done some studies, and it does seem to have a positive effect, especially for PTSD patients.
Now, unfortunately, you will not be able to get these to go. You will go to this tie-dyed couch and they will dose you up and you have to stay there for up to 8 hours until you are done tripping.
That makes sense to me because you don't want to have a bad trip alone. I imagine you probably want to be supervised for that.
And you do, I think, have to be referred by a doctor maybe. But they're looking to open things up more and more. And one person who was looking to get on that hype train early, one of the first cars on the hype train is this man.
Wiz Khalifa launches a grow your own mushroom brand, but these are edible mushrooms, you know, like oyster and the other one.
Oyster's a big one. There's actually quite a few kits like this online.
So it's like grow your own herb kit.
I have a feeling that some people might get these kits and inoculate them with a different kind of mushroom.
They come pre-inoculated.
Oh, do they?
I think so. I don't know about this particular kit, but you can buy these on like Amazon.
I mean, they're definitely going for
A certain look.
a special kind of mushroom vibe here.
Yeah.
You can get shiitake and two other popular kinds.
Oyster is really popular with the
Lion's
kids.
mane and oyster. Yeah.
It's a toss up for me. There's an artificial hamburger patty that's made out of shiitake mushrooms, and I don't know if I like that one more or the one that's made out of black beans more. But either one of those are far superior to the Beyond Meat.
Imagine if you grew your own.
Yeah, maybe even better.
And we have a brand new mushroom to be excited about. And is this little
He's so
guy
cute.
adorable or what?
Photo of the day: magical mini mushroom spotted in Taipei. And look at it; it's tiny.
He's so small.
And it's got little, what you call those? What do you call those, Krista? Those little things sticking out of it.
I don't know. So sometimes you'll see like some mushrooms have like the little white specks on them, and it's the remnants of the veil when it pops up out of the ground. But that doesn't look like a veil to me.
But it looks awesome.
It does look cool. I bet that would give you so many enchantments in Baldur's Gate.
It's a heck of a nice camera lens.
You could definitely put that in a potion.
Look how little it is compared to the finger, too. It's so cute. I can see how you'd miss that walking through the woods.
I think they said it was just like growing on the road somewhere. There'd been a ton of rain, and some guy found it walking to work.
Yeah, he spotted it with the naked eye. So wow, that's some incredible eyesight.
You know who I bet does not have incredible eyesight at this point? Is this man. I also don't believe this at all.
Rupert Murdoch's surprise exit from Fox leaves son Lachlan in charge of succession at Media Empire. I mean, Rupert Murdoch is what, like 91?
91.
Yeah, so...
But he is still going to be on the board, and he said that he was not like going into retirement. He was still going to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in all but name, he will still be in charge.
It's amazing that his doctors have been able to keep him alive this long.
Well, listen, all that teenager blood. And here we just get a fun little factoid from back in the day. Remember when the times were simpler and Elon Musk was together with Grimes? Well, it turns out that his ego was just as big then.
Elon Musk crashed Grimes' voice recording session for Cyberpunk 2077 with a 200-year-old musket and insisted on a cameo. Okay, but...
There's a new biography coming out about Musk right now, and this is one of the stories that's told in it. There's hundreds of them that are coming out, and they're all more and more unhinged.
What a world.
Can you imagine just walking into any sort of office like that with a gun and then not getting arrested and or questioned?
No, I can't imagine that because if I was in his place, I wouldn't be doing any of that. Nobody would ever see me.
Howard Hughes had it right. Is that what you're saying?
Well, he might have had some. I might change his way of doing things a little bit. Also, we learned that HBO is the biggest killer of shows, and Netflix does their share as well. But this time around, they're not really killing one. It's more like they're just maybe putting a little plastic surgery on it so they can pass it off as someone else.
Netflix's Daredevil showrunner Stephen DeKnight calls MCU's Born Again quote-unquote reboot an old Disney scam. There's the Daredevil show. There's apparently the same actors, same storyline, same sets, same all the stuff that they did for the other show. But they're making the title a little different, which means that it's season 1 of the new show. But season 1 of the new show picks up where the old show left off. So apparently that resets a bunch of things in terms of pay scale and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
which
all the
does sound
contract stuff changes completely apparently when you do that, which blew my mind. I did not know that was a thing.
that does sound like an old Disney scam.
The guy kind of tried to backtrack it later. He was like, "Well, I didn't mean to criticize Disney in that way." And it's like, oh, did someone call you?
We got
and yell
a
at
got a
you?
call from the mouse.
Yeah,
It's a dead rat in his mailbox.
yeah.
Oh, and dead rats are not the big problem that Mr. Elon Musk is having this week, but dead monkeys instead. And perhaps monkeys that died in ways that could have been avoided.
The Wired headline is the gruesome story of how the Neuralinga monkeys actually died. Oh boy, it is
These
gruesome.
are sad. These are big sads. So
Yeah.
prepare yourself.
And if you didn't watch the previous episodes this week, this comes as Neuralink is getting ready to go into human trials. So there was the monkey that kept smashing its face into the ground until it died. There was the monkey that had 2 screws that came out of the skull and leaked blood. And eventually it was able to like rip the cable out in some way. There was one monkey that would just stop responding to everything, right?
There was one that kept holding the hand of one
Oh,
of the
that
other
was
monkeys in the
especially
cage.
dark,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was like, oh,
Now, this goes completely against what Mr. Musk said on Twitter, which was that the monkeys died from old age because they only chose the old and sick monkeys. Some of these researchers said, no, we actually had to prepare these monkeys for a year beforehand. So we had to invest in their future.
yeah. Wouldn't it be bad science to only pick ones that are sick? Because then you have bad data because they might be dying from just old age.
Seems that way. These people also point out that it is now been set in case law that Elon Musk's Twitter can be considered part of, like the financial stuff. So is that lie some sort of,
Investor misleading.
yeah.
Yeah. Dark. It was basically the whole time I was looking at that, it was like, this is exactly like how the RoboCop movie started.
Are we going to have some former paraplegic people who are just like running around killing everybody
Yeah.
with psychic powers?
Because it's just, it's like, I want to die. I'm going to take everybody with me.
Well, apparently they just want to hold hands, which is maybe sadder.
Well, I just want some comfort from the
Yeah.
living hell that is their life. But that's not the case for crows because crows are smart and they're smarter than we ever could have imagined.
For the first time, research reveals that crows use statistical logic. The birds can associate images with distinct reward probabilities.
So they give them a touch screen and they put images on the touch screen. Eventually, they built this up slowly over time. And one image would give you more rewards than the other one. They quickly learned to only focus on that one. Then they gave them 3 months off and went back to it. And they immediately picked up the same patterns. They were smart.
I've been seeing more crows around here lately. Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know
'cause
why.
The FDA's been murdering literally every other bird because of the diseases.
Oh,
Yeah.
are crows not affected?
Apparently not.
They're too smart. And it's not smart, though, to take your snake swimming. I didn't even think about this, but they point out in the article that it's too cold.
Yeah.
Shouldn't put your snake in the water.
Gold Coast man fined for breaching permit after vision of pet python surfing goes viral.
Vision, is that like TikTok?
It's a
but for
weird headline,
psychics?
isn't
Yeah.
it?
So you have to have a permit to have a pet python, which means you always have to keep it in its enclosure unless it's going to the vet or some other permitted enclosure. But this guy apparently takes his surfing with him, and they say there's no way that the python enjoys swimming because it doesn't swim in the wild.
Also, you can't give it like a public performance of your pet. Like if you went to a carnival and they're like, "Oh, come and look at the snakes," that license doesn't allow that, and they're claiming that the surfboard Twitter pics violate that, which is kind of a version of, "Do you have a license for that snake?" But I don't know if I'm mad about this one
Yeah.
because
Oh, there has to be limits sometimes.
yeah, people just allowed to just take their snakes out in public. That could be a problem.
I think it's also true that pythons do swim, but probably in warmer waters.
Also, I forgot to add it. Did you see that an Amazon driver got tagged? I think it was in Florida by a rattlesnake.
Oh, wow. Didn't see that. Yeah. Oh.
And some animals are invasive, and it's unfortunate, but one man's invasive species is another man's delicacy.
Italy's invasive blue crabs have Korean seafood fans excited. Korean seafood company has been applying for a permit. It's like, we'll send ships over there right now. We will take all this off your hands, as many as we can get.
because they have a delicacy of some kind of like pickled crab or something like that.
Sauteed. Like apparently they're almost
Sounds
raw.
And in the shell.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
But it's smart, you know. Hey, we'll get rid of those blue crabs for you. Barbecue those right up. And here's an adorable boy who is one of a kind. Actually, I think it's a girl.
First ever dog fox hybrid discovered in the wild. She was captured and neutered, and they also did analyze her DNA. And it's 76 chromosomes. The dog has 78, a fox has 76, or she's 74 or something. It's like an in between.
Seeing the face really does kind of look like a perfect cross, doesn't it?
It's 74 and 78. This has 76. So they didn't know if it was viable or not. She's already been sterilized.
Would you call that a dox or a fog?
Ooh.
Fog, right? It's got to be fog.
It's not a great mixed name.
And finally, I always try to end on a fun one. And what could be more fun, unless you're this driver, of watching little bears enjoy donuts?
Bear raid on Krispy Kreme. Ursine
Yeah.
invaders loot Alaska donut truck. So it was a bear and her cub.
This was on a military base in Alaska. This guy foolishly left his door open while he was loading up the gas station with their donuts. And these bears were like, they struck immediately.
Yeah.
And
Oh, they probably knew that there's probably a dumpster there that they've hit before.
they ate and ate and ate and ate.
They had to get the military police to come and turn all their sirens on to run them out because they like banging on the truck. They didn't care. They're like, bro, do you know what's in here?
Krispy Kremes.
you
If
tasted
the
it?
sign is on, they're fresh.
They're never going to have that level of pleasure in with their food ever
Yeah.
again.
It's hard to go back. Well, I don't know. Salmon's pretty good.
But Krispy Kreme, I mean,
Krispy
come on.
Kremes,
I imagine that because bears do traditionally, they're known for taking honey. They probably can taste sweet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting honey and sugar and they're just wired.
Bread. Yeah. Delicious.
I didn't know bears could run at 45 miles an hour.
When is the fat bear?
That doesn't happen until they start to hibernate. So it's going to be like late fall. Right?
Probably soon, right? We're going to do a follow-up on that.
The fat bear contest.
Anyway, that's it. You've wasted another perfectly good week with us. Do you guys have any final thoughts, feelings, considerations?
In the Fed.
Anyway, bye.